I get into the story of Emerge, people tell us at Emerge, Emerge has a soul. Emerge has this palpable energy. Through Emerge, I've made fruitful connections. So I really want to start on that note. But thank you. I really wanted everyone to get to know each other. And now you can follow up with those conversations and continue those conversations throughout the day. Today I'm going to walk you through my roots and my story, and that is because my roots, my journey, really tie into the story of Emerge. And Emerge would not be here if it wasn't for the story of my family, and it'll all make sense as we go through this presentation. I'm also going to talk about how Emerge Americas is much more than an event. We're constantly evolving. We're constantly thinking big. Actually, one of my colleagues is here, Diane Vidoni. Please stand up a second. There she is. Diane is the COO of Emerge Americas, and thankfully for me and the team, she's been with us for over 7 years now, brings a ton of event experience, and she could attest to the fact that we always think big. Have you heard of BHAG, Big, Hairy, Audacious Goals? We have a lot of those at Emerge Americas. So my roots begin with my grandparents, pictured there to your left, who were born in Cuba, as were my parents. That's my father in the bottom row, and that's my mother with the little bowl cut next to my grandmother. And those are all beautiful pictures that were taken in Cuba when they were very young. Unfortunately, as many of you might know, there was a revolution in Cuba, and it became communist under the regime of Fidel Castro. That caused my grandparents, and I still can't imagine knowing this story, the courage, essentially, to decide to leave everything behind in the only country they had ever known, leave all their belongings, no money, and put my father, who you see there in the bottom, my aunt, in a boat. As they say the story, around 1 or 2 in the morning, they had no idea what was happening. My father was 13 years old. My aunt was 11. And decided to make that journey. Got in a boat, said a prayer, crossed their fingers with a bunch of other family members with the hope to land in another country that would give them opportunity. And thank God they did that. Because not only did they land in the land of opportunity, just 90 miles away, but they ended up landing in Miami. And we are forever grateful for the opportunities that I received, that my brother received, because of the fortitude that my grandparents all had to leave everything behind. As a mom of 5 children, I can't imagine having to make that decision right now in my life. They were a little bit younger than me when they made that decision and that sacrifice. But because of that, I had a wonderful childhood. I had a beautiful childhood. There's my mom and I in the your top right. And the woman you see there to the left, who's my dad's mom, my grandmother, she's my only living grandparent. And you see her down there in the bottom right. She just turned 93 years old. And I still see her multiple times a week, and she still tells me all these amazing stories about her life in Cuba and what it was like to leave everything behind. And that passion, that resilience, that love for our country, that love for our community really stemmed from that story. My grandmother was a hotel maid, and my grandfather was a taxi driver growing up. They taught me what it was to give up everything and work hard every day so that their kids, my father, my aunt, and so that their grandkids could have opportunity. Their one goal in life was for us to graduate college. Lucky for me, I was able to go to amazing schools. I graduated from the University of Florida, undergrad, go Gators, in the year 2000, and went straight ahead to do my master's in international business, also through the University of Florida, but in a program in Barcelona at one of the top management schools in Europe called ESADE. But something happened while I was getting my master's. A lot happened in the year 2000 and 2001. One of which everyone here was clearly affected by in 2001, which I'll get to in a minute. But in the year 2000, something happened in Miami. And that was that there was a public bid to build something called the Network Access Point, NAP of the Americas. This was going to be one of 7 data centers in the world to be built in Miami. It was quite literally going to connect Latin America to the rest of the world through this IT infrastructure. It was the airport for the internet. And Miami had this property where this was going to be built. See, my family's business was a real estate company, developers. My father, I was a year old in 1980, and he was an entrepreneur. He said, I want to build a real estate company. Commercial, residential, built so much all throughout the state of Florida. And when he saw that this public bid came to be in Miami, had never been in the tech business, ever. You would have never equated my father and my family with the tech world. It was all real estate. I grew up doing due diligence, 8, 9, 10 years old. I grew up in the boardroom with him. He had investors from all over the world, but it was all real estate. Now, this is where he took a chance. He said, I've built a lot of things in my life. I have a great career. I'm going to throw my hat in the ring to build this data center. Guess who won that bid? Terramark, his company. But not only did he want to build it, he started reading all about what this incredible infrastructure was going to do to the world. And he said, this is the next industrial revolution. I don't want anything to do with real estate anymore. I want to build and I want to operate this thing. At this point, I'm getting my master's, and I'm getting phone calls from his partners saying, your dad is going crazy. He's divesting all of his real estate. You are his, partner in crime. You're always with him. You need to talk him off a ledge. But I knew him. I knew his personality. I knew that entrepreneurial spirit in his DNA. And when he believes in something, he's gonna do it. No one is gonna tell him otherwise. And I certainly wasn't going to be that person. So anyhow, he did build this incredible, that's the picture of it right there. It still exists to this day. And he became the owner and operator of it. At the same time, I was finishing up my master's. My North Star in life, even though I always wanted to end up working for the family business later in life, growing up in it, my North Star was to go to New York. I studied finance, urban analysis, and I wanted to work in New York. I wanted to work there for 5 to 10 years and always pictured myself going back to Miami. But September 11th happened, 2001. That really changed the trajectory for me. I didn't have the jobs lined up anymore that I had planned for. And so I decided I'm gonna move back to Miami temporarily and for a couple of years, and then I'll go back and chase my dream of living in New York for 5 to 10 years. Well, that's certainly not what happened. I ended up working in the family business. At this point, Terramark, the real estate company, became Terramark Worldwide, an IT infrastructure and cloud computing company, headquartered in Miami. We ended up building data centers all over the world, including one not too far in Virginia, Culpeper. And I just became, it was almost through my father's eyes and lens. I realized as I started working in the finance department, I had studied finance, I realized what he was talking about. This really was the next industrial revolution. I became consumed with learning more about technology and ended up working there until the sale of the company. Terramark Worldwide, built by a Cuban immigrant, a 13-year-old boy, came to Miami with nothing, sold to Verizon in 2011. It was an incredible moment, not only for our family and how proud I was of him, but for the community. People were coming up to us and saying, this is incredible. Miami has tech now. Miami has tech. And we were the first ones to say, thank you. This is a very proud moment for us, but Miami doesn't have tech. Let me tell you, Miami does not have tech circa 2011. As a matter of fact, it was very difficult hiring and evangelizing Miami as a tech hub. It was difficult being headquartered in Miami and having this global IT infrastructure company in Miami. we were always asked, when we would travel to conferences all over the world, why are you headquartered in Miami? For us, it was simple. It was home, and we truly believed that Miami had all the elements to become a thriving tech hub, which is why, after the sale of the company, my father and I had a conversation and said, I don't know how we're gonna do this. Really have no idea how we're gonna do this, but we need to change this narrative. We need to focus on what are we gonna do to help foster a thriving tech ecosystem in South Florida. And so we established the Technology Foundation of the Americas in 2012. The first idea under this very ambitious goal of helping to transform Miami into technology hub was, why don't we create a convening? We've never been in this space before, but we've certainly been to enough conferences around the world. And we realized that that frustration that we had of people asking us why Miami all the time, coupled with the passion that we had for our community, and really the belief of us knowing that Miami had all the elements to become a thriving tech hub, also knowing that there was a void in the market. There was no events anywhere near Miami that were focused on tech and entrepreneurship at the time. None, zero. Started doing more research, implementation. We created a steering committee of over 40 different ecosystem leaders, not only tech, government, finance, media, travel, all together, and said, what do you think of this idea? If we were to do this, would you want to be a part of this? Many of them thought it wouldn't work, but luckily we did have some organic support to say, we believe in you. We believe in the passion that you have, and we'll support you to get this off the ground. Clearly, the connection to Latin America has always been something unique for Miami as well, and there's no question that we were looking at that also. This year was our 10th anniversary, just in April of 2024, 10 years of transformational work, and really excited to say, I mean, look at these numbers for a homegrown show with a family that really had never been in the event space before. Really excited to see how much we've grown over the last 10 years. Over 22,000 attendees, almost 80% senior level executives or above, almost 300 sponsors and exhibitors, almost 60 countries represented, almost 50 states, and two stats that I'm very passionate about. One is that we're at 40% women, of course, something that I am very adamant about changing in the tech landscape, especially in the event world. Tech conferences are very male-dominated, and we continue to push ourselves to change that. I want to see that number higher. And we're almost 70% of our attendees identify as multicultural. This is something that is part of our DNA. Miami is majority-minority community, and we want that reflected at Emerge. Even though it's a global conference, we want to make sure that we're creating a space for everybody, and that clearly shows in our numbers. We have worldwide media coverage. CNBC has been a phenomenal partner throughout the years since 2015. They publish national commercials for us. We have over 400 registered media at the conference. We've had headlines throughout the last 10 years, always launching new initiatives, always thinking creatively about the content. We want to make sure people come to Emerge and leave inspired from the content, network, make fruitful connections, and of course, have a lot of fun as well. This year, we launched two new initiatives, one called the Health Tech Innovation Hub, which was essentially a showcase of investors, startups, and large healthcare systems and how technology is driving healthcare. And we also launched something called the AI and Quantum Village, which is showcasing emerging technologies. And of course, AI and quantum are two of those. Miami has been propelled by the pandemic, and there's no shying away from that. There was a silver lining in all of our state of Florida, a global lens that was now all of a sudden shining on Florida, but specifically South Florida and Miami. We have had an influx, tech talent, investors, financial resources, and certainly at Emerge, having been there as part of the foundation, we have leveraged that and made sure that we are we are connecting the dots between all these new companies, entrepreneurs, startups, tech companies, and have them as part of our story as well. Here's a look back. This was our conference opener this year of 2014 to 2023. Take a quick look.
The idea behind Emerge is somewhat simple.
Bringing innovation and the legacy companies, the IBMs, the Oracle, Microsoft, Cisco's of the world together.
With the startup and innovators, entrepreneurs, we really wanted to do something big to give back to the community. And that's the first time you ever mentioned for me the idea of the technology conference.
So the whole number one event is technology as a driving factor to our economy. And I think that that Emerge could be that spark.
America's conference. I'm surrounded by innovators from across the Americas, all trying to use technology to make the world a better place.
Welcome back. How's everybody feeling?
This is overwhelming. So exciting. It is amazing to be back in real life.
La realidad es que ya Miami es la capital de la tecnología. Darle las oportunidades a las compañías que lo necesitan más. Es el sueño de Emerge America.
This is the most fun tech conference, Mayor, I've ever been to.
Ever. Woo!
Ever.
Where is this going? This is how I see it. This is how the Miami of the future that I see, and none of this could have been happening without the support of all of you that are out there.
So that takes you back through our journey a bit. The person, I don't know if you recognize him, but the person who said this is the most tech conference I've ever been to in 2023, that was Eric Schmidt at Emerge. And that was a really exciting moment for us. He ended up spending the entire day there and realizing, this is one of the godfathers of tech here in Miami. That was very emotional for us as well. I'm going to quickly go through that the essence of Emerge is much more than an event. These numbers just came out. There's articles that were published yesterday and the day before. The Washington Economics Group did a study on the impact of Emerge over the last 10 years. We have created almost $3 billion in impact in our state. We have helped create over 10,000 jobs in our state. And 81% of those jobs are high-wage jobs in the tech world. But we know that we are creating an impact much more than just from our event. How do we do that? It's a year-round effort. I'm not going to go into each one of these. We have over 35 to 40 smaller events throughout the year, but they all tie in and thread and culminate at Emerge America's the Global Tech Conference. One of the new events that we launched 3 years ago is called Tech Basel Summit. We're leveraging the fact that there are so many decision makers in Miami for a week in December. And we realized we could create something where we're bringing together an invite-only event for investors, founders, and family offices to talk about the intersection of art and technology, to talk about tech in general, and also to use it as a way to continue to engage with our attendees and our network. This has been a phenomenal new addition to our portfolio of events. We also launched MiamiTechMonth.com. That's our domain name. In the month of April now in Miami, we are the tentpole event. There are hundreds of other events now throughout the month, and we love that. We are not scared of that. We were first movers in this market, and we want the story of Miami to continue to be told. So we are leveraging that. We created MiamiTechMonth.com, and we actually showcase everything that's happening in April, whether we co-host it or not. It's on that site as well. We have a lot of digital marketing efforts. We launched a magazine. We've had 2 editions so far. We have an insights report where we track venture activity throughout the state of Florida and publish that twice per year. Tons of virtual events and webinars that we create in-house. This probably is one of my favorite components of Emerge that I'll dive into for a little bit longer, which is the heart and soul of our work. We work with entrepreneurs because we know that if they are able to scale, if we're able to arm them with tools, connect them with corporate partners, connect them with investment, it's a positive snowball effect, right? It's a way to really help foster our ecosystem. So we've been hosting this accelerator and showcase for 10 years throughout our history of Emerge. We have 1 cohort per year. We select 100 startups from around the world through an open application process and also through startup events that we do through emerging markets. And it also ends and culminates at Emerge the conference. So you see that theme, right? We have this cohort, it's virtual for 7 weeks, but they commit to being at Emerge the conference. They make up Startup Alley. They're the reason a lot of corporate partners want to be there also, see what's next. What are they creating that's innovative? We have had companies acquire startups that have been in our cohort before, and several exits. This is a quick recap of 2024, which you didn't see. It's, I think, less than a minute. So we'll play that, and then I'll wrap up soon after that.
We are all here today, right now, celebrating our annual conference of Emerge Americas. It's the milestone of 10 years.
As you can see there, we have multiple interactive experiences. We had 6 different stages, and of course, a lot of energy and a lot of fun. We are not your typical tech conference, and we're proud about that. Lastly, I'm going to end with the fact that we are constantly evolving, and there's always new ventures, there's always new ideas, and our latest one is that we launched an early stage fund. Again, we've been working with startups for over 10 years. We've had incredible exits from these startups. We've had startups collectively raise over $2.5 billion that have gone through our accelerator, and so now we created a formal vehicle to invest in these startups. The last thing I'll say is that people call us crazy. People called my father crazy. People said this would never work. These are, I mentioned I have 5 kids. Those are my 5 kids and my nieces and nephews acting a little crazy. This is essentially a family portrait. That's me in the middle, my father and my brother shark diving. I wouldn't recommend doing that unless you are a scuba diver, but we are risk takers, calculated risk takers. I grew up on a boat. I grew up scuba diving. But I love this quote by the late Steve Jobs. The people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones to do. It's okay to be called crazy. Linda Roddenberry wrote a book. She's a co-founder of Endeavor, Crazy is a Compliment. I suggest, if you haven't read it, to read that book, and it's okay if people call you crazy. Thank you, and I would love to stay connected.
Wow. You did all that and gave the audience 3.5 minutes. That's unbelievable.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Okay, so now we have 5 minutes for some questions. I think we have 2 people with microphones. There's one and there's the other. Great. And we also are accepting questions via Chime Live. So any questions so far? Yes, over there, please.
That was great. Thanks. Could
you.
you talk a little bit more about being the tentpole with all the other events? We've seen that happen in some cities, and there's a thought that, you know, these people are taking away. So maybe talk about that a little bit more.
Yeah, of course. So, you know, I think I didn't go into it that much, but really, as I mentioned, the pandemic propelled Miami. There was already a foundation, there was already a burgeoning, sort of emerging tech hub. We had already been around for several years at the time. But at the point of COVID, it was just a media storm, right? There were so many people moving to Miami. Didn't know if it was gonna be temporary. We noticed that it quickly became permanent because many of these people ended up moving their headquarters there or opening offices there, hiring talent. And so there, in our opinion, there is a massive amount of opportunity just in general and a lot more events, not direct competitors of ours, but a lot more maybe either industry specific, non-tech events, decided that they were gonna start coming to Miami. And from our point of view, it's another way to tell the story of everything that's happening in Miami. We haven't seen it, thankfully, as this big competitive landscape. As I mentioned before, there really isn't another Emerge that exists in Miami or anywhere near Miami. Not the way that we're doing it, not the amount of people that we're bringing together. And we said, well, we're gonna put ourselves out there as the sort of center of everything that's happening in what we called Miami Tech Month. And so people sort of look to us to see what else is happening that we're either a part of or that we wanna share.
Actually, a long, long time ago, the Consumer Electronics Show, Jack Wayman used to say, as long as it's within the pale of the show. When people are coming to Chicago or Las Vegas or Miami, they're not thinking they're going to an outboarding event. They're going there to do business, to have fun, and to network. Next question. Okay, well, I'll ask a question.
Sure.
Is this, can you geoclone this thing?
Yes, absolutely. We have been approached by several different groups to take Emerge on the road, the large event. So we actually do smaller silo events in different countries already. We do an emerging markets roadshow throughout Latin America and throughout what we consider emerging tech markets in the US, 2-day smaller events focused on entrepreneurs and investors. But yes, we have been approached to take Emerge to Dubai, to take Emerge to Europe. So a lot of growth opportunities. We would not go into a new market like that on our own without, a strategic partner or someone that knows that country well enough. But yes, absolutely, there's an opportunity.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Anything else? Do we have one in the back? Okay, I see the mic. There we go.
Wow, what energy. Thank you very much. What a
Thank
great
you.
presentation.
Thank
and I
you.
lived in Miami for 10 years, so I can appreciate that even more.
Thank you.
So quick question, you built this community, we've heard about the events and a little bit about those other glue points or sticking points. Can you share what other points help to build that community beyond the events, maybe in priority
Yes.
order?
Yeah, that's a great question. We're always thinking of ways of continuously engaging with our network, which right now we have over 65,000 opt-in subscribers to a newsletter. We share that newsletter every Tuesday morning. It has great open rates, so we know that our audience wants this information. But it's always thinking through how can we have another touch point that isn't just please buy a pass to Emerge. We want them to look at us as thought leaders in the tech space, in the innovative space. But we're always creating ways to continuously, not only in person, but also virtually through our newsletter, insights reports, continue to be thought leaders in our space. And the one thing I'll also say about the competitive landscape is people ask me personally all the time, are you trying to create, a Silicon Beach? Are you trying to become, a New York or an Austin or a Boston. No, we learn from those tech hubs. We want to create a complementary space, another launchpad of innovation, when either corporations or entrepreneurs are looking for where they could potentially live, work, play. What we want is South Florida to be an option. And that's what we're helping to create, not to be a copycat of somewhere else. We have very unique attributes in our community. Certainly the diversity is one of them. You know, the fact that it's a global epicenter, global airport, et cetera. So and tax advantages, of course, which we didn't even get into, but really playing up to our unique assets. Always looking at ways to engage our audience throughout the year in organic ways.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Excellent
you.
keynote. Thank you so much.
Thank you.